Mark Carney's conflicts of interest are becoming more visible and concerning. If you've been following David over at Moose on the Loose, big credit to him. He's done an excellent job investigating Carney's financial entanglements and how these relate to potential ethical violations. He's laid everything out thoroughly, and frankly, I wouldn't even try to compete with the level of detail he brings. So, if you haven't already, go check him out. Now, there's yet another conflict of interest that's emerged, this time connected to the federal government, which only further highlights just how deep and widespread these issues really are. It's just another example of those in power feeding at the trough, benefiting from taxpayer dollars. Nothing has changed under Trudeau's leadership, and it seems nothing will. In fact, things may get worse. Canadians should be asking, where does the corruption end? How far do these political and financial entanglements go? Before diving deeper into the issue, I want to highlight a tool I use to find the story, Ground News. It's a platform I strongly recommend. The media landscape has shifted drastically, and it's become difficult to know who or what to trust. I'm sure many of you can relate. You're scrolling social media, see a headline that seems important but suspect, and quickly realize the comment section offers no clarity, just noise. That's where Ground News steps in. It's a news comparison platform that compiles stories from a variety of sources, so you can see how each outlet covers a particular topic. This helps identify bias, highlight what's emphasized or ignored, and gives a more complete picture. They display political leanings, ownership, and reliability for every source they aggregate. One of their best features is the bias bar, which reveals whether a story is being reported across the political spectrum or slanted toward one side. The blind spot feed helps you break out of your echo chamber by showing stories underreported by either the left or right. Unlike most media outlets, Ground News doesn't use clickbait or ad-driven content. They're funded by subscribers, which means they're focused on delivering value, not keeping you on the page for ad revenue. If you're interested, they're offering 40% off their Premium Advantage plan. It's a great way to support responsible journalism while staying fully informed. Visit groundnews.com/fringe for the discount. Now, let's get back to the story. I discovered it through Ground News, which led me to Blacklock's reporter. The core issue? Mark Carney refused to disclose details regarding compensation to the operator of the Confederation Bridge in PEI, even under a new toll structure. It turns out that Minister Anita Anand's husband is a director at a firm holding a 34% stake in the bridge's toll operations. Here's where things get troubling. A Rebel News report highlights that Anand's husband plays a significant role in a group that benefits directly from the toll operation and, more importantly, from government subsidies. The Trudeau government recently announced reduced tolls for the bridge, dropping from over $50 to $20 per vehicle as of August 1st. But they didn't disclose how much taxpayers would now have to shell out to compensate the private operator, Strait Crossing Development Incorporated, for that lost revenue. Remember, this same company, partially owned by the group linked to Anand's husband, was previously awarded a $2.87 million pandemic grant in 2021. And this is a bridge already subsidized under a 35-year agreement that guarantees a minimum of $13.9 million in annual toll revenues, along with inflation-adjusted increases. By 2014, taxpayers had already paid out nearly $1 billion in subsidies, and projections suggest we'll spend at least $1.28 billion by the time the contract ends in 2032. Why is this relevant? Because private investors are earning guaranteed profits while taxpayers foot the bill. Again, the 1998 QP analysis labeled the agreement as a near risk-free deal for investors. When the bridge becomes publicly owned in 2032, Canadians may be left with a costly asset requiring even more public investment. Back to Carney. He made the announcement about reduced tolls without offering any explanation about the financial impact or who benefits. The legal terms of the bridge contract have never been fully disclosed. According to 2014 records, the bridge generated an average of $30.3 million in annual revenue, with estimated operational costs around $17 million. Yet the Department of Transport refuses to answer questions about the new subsidy structure. In 2021, Minister Anand recused herself from ferry service discussions due to potential conflicts, but her husband's financial interests in the bridge operation remain. That recusal means little if she still shares a home and personal conversations with someone directly profiting from these decisions. It's the same issue we see with Mark Carney. He claims to use a blind trust and not manage his assets directly, but the actions he takes politically clearly influence his investments, especially with Brookfield, where he's tied to many of the entities benefiting from these decisions. This loophole needs to be closed. Politicians should not be allowed to maintain financial ties, directly or indirectly, to companies that profit from public policy. It's just common sense. If you're in public service, your duty should be to the people, not your portfolio. This is the kind of corruption that, in previous decades, would have led to immediate resignations or investigations. Now, nothing. No accountability. The public deserves transparency. Yet the PMO, the Department of Transport,